Shame is one of the most powerful and deeply ingrained emotions we can experience. It influences how we see ourselves, how we interact with others, and how we navigate life's challenges. Unlike guilt, which is about feeling bad for something we've done, shame is about feeling bad for who we are. It is a belief that we are inherently flawed, unworthy, or unlovable. This deep-rooted feeling often stems from early childhood experiences and is reinforced by the inner critic, making it difficult to break free from its grip. However, with awareness and self-compassion, we can begin to heal our shame and reclaim our self-worth. Shame is often embedded in childhood, shaped by our earliest experiences with unhelpful parenting. It can stem from various sources such as parental expectations and negative criticism. When children grow up with parents who are overly critical, demanding, or emotionally distant, they begin to internalize the idea that they are not good enough for who they are. Repeated experiences of being dismissed, ridiculed, or punished for simply expressing emotions or making mistakes create a deep sense of shame. Another common source is neglect or emotional abandonment. If a child's emotional needs are not met, whether through neglect, lack of affection, or an absence of validation, they may develop the belief that they are unworthy of love. This sense of being unseen or unwanted can lead to lifelong struggles with our sense of self-worth. Trauma and abuse also play a significant role in the development of shame. Experiences of physical, emotional, or indeed sexual abuse often result in deep-seated shame. Victims may blame themselves, believing they caused or deserved the abuse, reinforcing the idea that they are inherently flawed. Societal and cultural conditioning further reinforces shame through unrealistic standards of success, beauty, and behavior. Messages such as, you must be perfect, you should be strong and independent, or you must not show weakness, create a cycle of shame when individuals feel they don't measure up. Another powerful influence is comparison and rejection. Experiences of rejection, bullying, or being compared to others can instill a sense of inadequacy. If a child feels they are different or don't fit in, they may internalize the belief that there is something wrong with them. Shame doesn't disappear as we grow older. Instead, it embeds itself deep within our psyche, manifesting through our inner child and, of course, inner critic. The inner child is that part of us that carries the emotions, memories, and wounds from our early years. When we experience shame in childhood, our inner child holds on to that pain, influencing our adult thoughts, behaviors, and relationships. If a child was constantly told they were too sensitive or not good enough, they might grow up believing that expressing emotions is weak or that they have to prove their worth through achievement. Even in adulthood, these beliefs persist, often operating unconsciously. The inner child also craves love and validation. However, because shame convinces us that we are undeserving, we may struggle to accept love and kindness from others. We might push people away, sabotage our relationships, or remain stuck in cycles of self-doubt and unworthiness. The inner critic is the internal voice that reinforces shame. It is the voice that tells us you're not good enough, you'll never succeed, or you don't deserve happiness. This inner dialogue is often shaped by past experiences, echoing the criticisms or judgments we received as children. The inner critic thrives on shame, using it as fuel to keep us small and yet also safe. The subconscious mind loves familiarity and is way more powerful than the conscious mind. It convinces us to avoid risks, to seek approval from others, and to constantly strive for perfection. While its intention might be to protect us from rejection or failure, it actually keeps us trapped in self-sabotaging patterns. To add to the confusion, shame is often buried beneath more palatable or familiar emotions, making it difficult to recognize. Many people do not realize they're carrying shame because it presents itself as anxiety, depression, or even anger. Anxiety can arise when we feel we must perform perfectly to avoid judgment, and depression can set in when we believe we are inherently unworthy. Anger can act as a defense mechanism to shield us from the vulnerability of shame. Instead of recognizing our deep fear of not being enough, we may lash out at others or become highly critical of ourselves. This masking of shame makes it challenging to address because we end up treating the symptoms rather than the core wound. Healing shame requires deep inner work, but it is entirely possible with self-awareness, self-compassion, and intentional practice. One of the most important steps is recognizing the presence of shame in our lives, bringing awareness to how and when shame appears allows us to question its validity. Often the beliefs we carry about ourselves are outdated, formed in childhood when we lacked the ability to fully understand our experiences. Examining these beliefs with curiosity instead of judgment helps to loosen their grip. Another key step is working with the inner child. Since shame is often rooted in childhood experiences, healing involves reconnecting with those wounded parts of ourselves. This can be done through inner child work with a therapist like me, where we acknowledge our younger self's pain, offer reassurance, and provide the love and validation that may have been missing. Self-compassion is also a crucial element in overcoming shame. Instead of criticizing ourselves for feeling unworthy, we can learn to treat ourselves with the same kindness we would offer a friend. Practicing self-compassion means replacing self-judgment with understanding, accepting our imperfections, and recognizing that we are all inherently valuable. Engaging in practices such as mindfulness and self-reflection can also help break the cycle of shame. Mindfulness allows us to observe our thoughts and emotions without being overwhelmed by them, creating space for us to respond rather than react. By paying attention to our internal dialogue, we can begin to challenge and replace that critical voice that fuels shame. Building supportive relationships is another powerful way to heal. Shame thrives in secrecy, so sharing our experiences with trusted friends, your therapist, or a support group can help break its hold. When we are met with understanding and acceptance, we begin to see that we are not alone in our struggles. Healthy relationships remind us that we are worthy of love and connection, reinforcing the truth that shame has long tried to hide. Shame is a deeply ingrained emotion, but it does not have to define us. By recognizing where it comes from, understanding its connection to the inner child and inner critic, and taking intentional steps towards healing, we can free ourselves from its weight. Healing shame is not about eliminating it entirely, but learning to navigate it with self-awareness and compassion. When we break free from shame, we step into a life of greater self-acceptance, confidence, and emotional freedom. If you would like help with addressing your shame, get in touch. Visit my website and book a free discovery call, and let's see what's possible.